Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Committee of the Whole meeting, Tuesday, October 15th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Got a couple opening comments. Tom, you have one?
Yeah, the Newcastle Community Association is having a cookie fest on this Saturday. So we are challenging those people out there who think that they make good cookies to make some cookies, bring them to the cookie fest and sell them. And you can also be part of the best chocolate chip cookie in the Valley contest, which is a very prestigious award. It's like an Academy Award. So this Saturday, Newcastle Hall, starting at noon, Cookie Fest. Come and have some cookies.
Noon to when, Tom? When's the time? Noon to when?
Noon till about 4.
Okay.
Till the cookies run out.
All right. And I'd just like to remind everybody that we've had a lot of wind in the valley. So could you please close your green tops and your garbage bins? And if you're out for a walk, please take a bag and help us help Public Works keep the valley clean. So that would be awesome. Winter's going to be in the air and it'd be nice to clean it all up before we got there. So any additions to the agenda? No, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please? Stephanie?
I move that council adopt the agenda for the October 15th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting as presented.
Seconder? Patrick? All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of September 16th Committee of the Whole, please? Crystal?
I move that council approve the minutes for the September 16th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting as presented.
Seconder? Patrick? Comments? All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes presented by the Drumheller Public Library, please? Stephanie?
I move that council accept as information the Drumheller Public Library Board regular meeting minutes of August 14th, 2024 as presented.
Seconder? Crystal? Comments? Stephanie?
So the Drumheller Public Library is currently recruiting for members from the community to join the library board as a library trustee. As a member of the board, you will help to oversee library policies, financial planning, and the library's plan of service. The trustees meet on the second Wednesday of each month, usually via Zoom. If you're interested in being on the library board, please email drumhellerlibraryboard@gmail.com.
Thanks, Stephanie. Anybody else? All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of Municipal Planning Commission, please? Crystal?
I move that council accept as information the Municipal Planning Commission regular meeting minutes of August 15th, 2024 as presented.
Seconder? Patrick? Comments? All in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of the Drumheller Housing Administration, please? Crystal?
I move that council accept as information the Drumheller Housing Authority regular meeting minutes of June 18th, 2024 as presented.
Seconder, please. Stephanie? Comments? All in favor? Carried. And can I get a motion to accept the Drumheller District Solid Waste Management? Patrick?
I move the council accept as information the Drumheller and District Solid Waste Management Association regular meeting minutes of June 20th, 2024 as presented.
Seconder? Stephanie? Comments? All in favor? Carried. For the listening public, we have those meetings brought forward so that if you want to know what's going on with any of those committees, you can read the information attached. We just approve it so that it's on record. All right. Let's move on to 8.1.1, please. Reg, our economic, you introduce yourself and what you're going to present, please.
Thank you so much, Your Worship. My name is Reg Johnston. I'm the Manager of Economic Development for the town of Drumheller. Specifically tonight, I'll be presenting a briefing note with respect to an update for council on the short-term rental program. Just as an introduction, so the business licensing bylaw 0623 was actually passed December 18th in 2023, but came into effect February 1st of this year. Within it, we had provisions for short-term rentals so we could license them and manage them. We defined a short-term rental as a rental as part of a house, like a room or the entire house, a secondary suite that was rented for less than 28 days. And that included short-term rentals that were on Airbnb and VRBO. When we started managing short-term rentals, we thought that there was about 130 in the valley, and we had seen an exponential increase over 3 years. While we were doing the housing strategy, we had heard from residents that there was concerns with respect to keeping the quality of their neighborhoods protected, as well as it was impacting long-term rentals. And so we were asked to manage them. The goals that were provided to us by council with respect to developing the bylaw and managing short-term rentals was we wanted to first increase safety, promote fair competition within the hospitality industry, so level the playing field, if you would, and protect residential neighborhoods. So to that end, we added several provisions in the business licensing bylaw, one being a cap. So in 2024, we said that there would be no more than 120 short-term rentals within the jurisdiction, and we can review that cap annually. We also limited it to one short-term rental per parcel. And then we also said it had to be a dwelling unit, so no recreational vehicles were allowed to be short-term rentals, but with the exception of hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, campgrounds, and rentals for more than 28 days are exempt from the licensing process. And then we developed 3 types of short-term rentals and had different licensing fees for each one. And those are described in the briefing note, but just quickly, a principal residence is someone renting out a part of their house or a secondary suite, and they live there at least 51% of the time. A non-principal residence is someone that is renting out a property where they don't live, but they do live in Drumheller. And then a non-resident short-term rental is someone that does not live in Drumheller and owns the property and just rents it out for visitors. To take you through some of the application results, the key one was that we had 51 approved licenses so far this year. We've had 6 applicants in process right now. 5 were rejected, and the details for why they were rejected is there as well. We did deploy a software, so Avenue is the company that we used, and it was very, very helpful in identifying all the STRs in the valley. And then once we had this software, we were able to take down the 132 that we saw by removing 28 duplicates. And then we also removed 14 exempt properties and took the remainder of the ones that were licensed and started doing compliance on the remaining 34. We sent letters to each operator that wasn't licensed and started going from there. I'm happy to say that we've achieved a really, really high compliance level. When we compare our compliance to other jurisdictions, we're at 88% right now, and we have about 11 of the 90 that we worked on that we have to follow up with. From a safety perspective, we achieved that objective. There's a small correction in my briefing note. The second bullet should read smoke detector and CO detector, so carbon monoxide. But all the applicants have provided access and egress confirmation for windows, fire extinguishers and where they're located, home escape plans and insurance, etc. So all the approved STRs have the proper safety to be able to host folks. And then with respect to enforcement, we sent our first letter out August 8th, as I said, but from there we started working with bylaw. Thank you so much for that department's help with visits to each property and providing letters. Our first step was to focus on the RV rentals because we wanted them to cease operation. And then we moved on to the remaining non-compliant properties, and 9 of which licensed, 6 of which are in process, and then As stated earlier, about 11 moved to long-term rentals and or ceased renting, which was a good outcome as well. We found 2 jurisdictions to compare ourselves to with respect to compliance. One was in California. They had about 60% compliance after 6 months, and Ottawa at 65. And so when you compare that to our 88% compliance, we're doing very well. We're in good shape for renewals. And then we also have that, people and process and technology continue to enforce and manage these properties. From a financial impact perspective, we believe that we're achieving cost recovery. The total revenue is in the graphs below, so you can see that we did about $38,000 in revenue across the 51 applicants, and then we've also shown the number of different types of applicants as well within the 51. And then lastly, on the expense side of things, we've spent some staff time, so I just highlighted when it was a compliant STR, how long it took to process versus additional time with respect to doing non-compliant STRs, and of course our software fee that we pay. And then last section I would suggest is that we get on communications pretty quick here so that we can start doing renewals, because according to our bylaw, we have to have everybody renewed by March 31st, 2025. And that's the briefing note.
Thanks so much, Red. Rich, questions? Go ahead, Crystal.
You know me, I always have lots of questions and good feedback. So, first of all, thank you to the team. This has been a huge undertaking. And I think it's clear it's working. And the whole idea was to make these properties safe. And that's the main goal, right? And to get them registered and ensure that it's equal for all the partners that are involved in our community to contribute, right, to tourism. So Avenue is working. It's starting to pick up. Is it starting to pick up from like booking.com now too? Because I know that was kind of some of an issue, because it's kind of not really a STR specific site, but they are advertising on that one.
Yeah, so it looks at 70 some sites, and then helps us identify that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you look at the graph that's in the briefing note, 63% of are locally owned when you add the primary resident plus the non-primary residents. So that's really good to know that our locals are getting behind this and ensuring that their properties are registered. So I want to thank all those locals for really being kind of the stewards of this program, and to hopefully, the non-local residents will continue to follow that. I've had some feedback just from some property owners, and they said the process was great, easy to talk to, good communication, all their questions were answered. So keep up the good work. And that's all I have.
Patrick?
Thanks.
I was just curious, after, this is, our first move into this, feedback that you've received that are some suggestions or thoughts about tweaking this for the next coming year.
Yeah, I put some hints in the briefing note. Again, we would need direction from council, but we might want to review our cap, and we might want to review pricing, just depending on how we go forward with our goals. But beyond that, we got it pretty close to right on our first try. So we took some time, working it, but it's worked out really well for the management. We might want to look at some additional details as per an appeal that we had on how we want to evaluate density for multiple units in buildings. But we can present some information with respect to that and talk about it more. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pat or Tom?
Yeah, thank you for all your work on this. I know you and Bylaw have done an awful lot of work, and it seems to be working very well, which is great. And I just wanted to mention that, we as council in the town, we're not trying to make it difficult on people in the community to rent out properties for tourism. We are, to a certain extent, a bit of a creature of our own success here, that we have promoted tourism so well in the valley that we don't have enough accommodation. And so we actually do need short-term rentals. It's not like we're trying to curtail them or anything. And as Crystal said, safety, absolutely number one. And I know you have some interesting stories. I know Greg has told us a few stories about some of the properties that you guys have come across that, nah, not so much, right? So that's very, very good. And as Pat said, I mean, this is the first go around. I think we did very, very well, and there will be some tweaks. And I think we're still looking for feedback from people that, you know, there's some good ideas out there that we're looking towards that might help make this even better for next year. So again, good job.
Anybody else? Curious, Reg, I like the fact that recreational vehicles, that's a tough one because we hear it. Um, so is that, like, I realize you get that through all the sites, but is there anything else that can be done? Because this is really unsafe.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was why we prioritized it first to go get those folks to cease operations. So it was great that Darcy from Bylaw supported us on that and went out right away. So yeah, from a safety perspective and from a protection of neighborhood perspective, that's why when we see those pop up, we deal with them first with respect to enforcement. But yeah, I mean, we might be able to do some more on communications, and I'm open to suggestions on how we might want to address that because we have a moratorium right now. So
Yeah, because you had, we've got the cap on there, which you think could possibly be adjusted and stuff. What my opinion after reading all the documents is, because of the extent to try and get these in place, we obviously have over 50 that are compliant, that are following the process, that are doing the due diligence. I'd almost personally like to see those be able to carry maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, um, rather than have to go through the whole process again. If, especially that they, the ones that I think give credit where credit's deserved, is the one that stepped up, the ones that came forward, the ones that did it right. Obviously, they want to be part of a positive program, and maybe those ones should be, in a lack of a better term, rewarded for wanting to, because like these guys say, at the end of the day, this all came up because of safety. Really, that's how it all ended up surfacing. Um, so I would suggest looking at that, seeing how we could, because again, this was never identified to be a money making program. This was never identified. Obviously, like anything else, we want to cover our costs the best we can. So not having to have those reapply plus us reevaluate every year might be something you want to look at. But other than that, great job on the work that's been done. It's, again, it was we've implemented some complex programs for the betterment of the community, and appreciate your efforts on it.
well, thank you, and yeah, the team did a lot of work too. Mitch is on,
Please,
Bridget. So,
please,
yeah.
please pass our congratulations to everyone. Condolences, I was going to say condolences, didn't you? Well, but no, good job, and thank you to everyone, because that was a tough one. We implemented, it took a few years to get it in there, and hey, that's the beauty of these things, is you have the ability to change as we go. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 8.2.1, please, Trent.
Trent will handle the lion's share of the reporting, Mrs. Colberg. I just want to
Okay.
say a few words at the start regarding the summary.
All right, thanks, Greg.
A great deal of time went into the program to get it launched, and everybody's aware of that. We reported to council oft times last year, and this year as to where we were going, and how far it was going to take us, and the issues to get there. We're all aware of the program implemented to help us offset costs, infrastructure costs, the influx of tourists into the community, just wear and tear on the town of Drumheller. Prior to this, we're all aware again, we want to stress costs were borne by taxpayers. The goal of paid parking was not to make anybody's life difficult visiting, but to reasonably recoup costs and to find a fair way to do this from visitors to the valley. We seek to update, and Trent will handle the lion's share of the reporting on the details. As I mentioned, the briefing note, we want to update council administration, most all the public as to where we are and how the first season went. The first season could not have gone as well as it did without the assistance of various members of the town in communication staff, Karen and the Schneck seniors coordinator, Shane, our mapping GIS person, Connor, the intern, municipal intern. Everybody was a tremendous help. The program is extremely heavy on understanding computer apps and IT. And Janice Armstrong and I did our best to get it launched and to get it going. Thankful to the younger, more intelligent people that were, such as Trent, Connor, helped us out tremendously to get the program launched and get it operating by May 1st. We've learned a lot this year, and we can implement that next year if council's wishes are for us to go ahead for a second year. Trent will report on the the details of the program, money taken in, where it went, and what we recouped in the end.
Thanks, Greg. All right, Trent.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Like he mentioned, excuse me.
I'm going to stop you first. Can you introduce yourself and what you do in the town?
Yes, my name is Trent Kier. I'm the manager of municipal enforcement for the town. Yeah, so like Greg said, we want to first acknowledge that this is a multi-stakeholder program and it requires a great deal of collaboration. So yeah, thanks to all town staff. But I do also want to send a thank you to all town residents for taking the time to sign up for their resident permits, as well as buying into the program. I realize we're all busy and it's kind of just one more thing on everyone's to-do list. So thank you for doing that and supporting the program. So now that I'm done with the formalities, I'll answer the question that everybody wants to know. How much did the program earn? Well, from May 1st until September 30th, the program grossed $112,686.98. The highest earning lot was the Hoodoos, bringing in $49,908, followed by the world's largest dinosaur at $36,569. The swinging suspension bridge, $16,069. The BCF brought in $6,368. And our smaller lots, that's the Noodle House lot, the Gordon Taylor Bridge lot, Riverside Drive East, and Town Hall, those all brought in $2,600. And then there was an additional $5,400 in earnings through voluntary fine payment of parking tickets. Now, of course, as everybody knows, in order to make money, you do have to spend money. And then in addition, every program does have operating expenses. We paid our parking officer $12,554 in wages this summer. For startup fees, residential permit assistance from Hotspot and our plate scanning devices was $10,000. Signage cost a grand total of $8,410. Now, the most significant of all these are our hotspot fees. There's merchant fees associated with all credit card payments. And then in addition, they do a great deal of back-end financial work for us, whether that be dealing with the tax man, administering refunds, and sending money to us, of course. And then Hotspot 2 is a business, so they have to take a cut as well. So I'll sum those all up as hotspot fees, and they amounted to $19,594. So once we take all costs and parking tickets into consideration, the program net was $67,527. So we got close to that 5K in earnings mark, and these numbers are from May until September. So the October numbers are still circulating, so there'll be a little bit more trickling in towards the end here. So I may as well get everyone's favorite topic out of the way first, parking tickets. throughout the entire parking season, there were 245 tickets issued. We found that tickets were voluntarily paid 44% of the time. Unpaid tickets are recouped through the provincial fine system, so these numbers are a little bit challenging to account for because the town just gets a lump sum of provincial fines, and that includes like tickets that the RCMP writes out on the road, so a little bit tough to narrow those down. Now, obviously, fines are effective in enforcing non-compliance of the program. However, officer presence does remain our preferred strategy, as well as education. For example, in the mid-season mark of the program, our parking officer switched from a traditional scan a plate, write a ticket, scan a plate, write a ticket method to first walking the lot and checking every single plate in the parking lot, and then doing a second loop around the parking lot where tickets were issued. Once we implemented this strategy, we found that not only compliance increased, but fines decreased. So that was definitely the better way of going about it. Now, as far as those people who don't have to pay for parking, we know the residents were exempted, and we know that people who had recreation memberships and resided outside of town, they were exempted from the parking program as well. So as of this date, 2,759 resident permits have been issued. Each of these permits currently has an expiration date of Halloween of 2027. So they're in the system, good to go. Badlands Community Facility and Aquaplex, 102 at the BCF and 40 Aquaplex members received special recreation exempt permits. These permits are set to renew and expire in line with their recreation membership. So big thanks to Lockie, Jared, and everyone at the BCF handling the lion's share of that work. We appreciate it. Now, of course, with a big program like this, there are going to be some challenges. Number one was that our number one lot, being the hoodoos and cellular reception, was a little bit of an issue out there. Not only did this sometimes impact patrons' ability to pay, but it actually created a lag within the system. So someone would register a payment, and there would sometimes be a 5, 10, 15, 20-minute time period before the payments actually registered with hotspots. So it became very difficult to enforce. And speaking with some of the vendors out there, that seems to be a little bit of the norm according to them, that sometimes the service will be better on some days, sometimes it'll be a little bit slow. They say their debit machines will act up. So there's definitely people who are able to pay no problem, as evidenced by the earnings, but it definitely was a concern, and our number one concern. We did identify a lack of signage earlier in the program. Now, we did move some signs around to some more strategic locations, as well as adding signs in other lots. So some lots we would say are fully addressed, the hoodoos being one of those. However, the world's largest dinosaur visitors information center area definitely could be some improvement in the future. Riverside Drive East definitely could be some improvement there. Well, we did receive very few formal complaints about our QR code payment system. There is a little bit of an optics concern with only having one payment method available. When someone says, I don't have a phone, how do I pay? Currently, there really is no other way to pay, and I don't think anybody wants to say, well, you can't park here then. So only having that one payment option is a little less than desirable. Now, again, relatively new initiative, so I just want to have a few discussion points I want to talk about, namely changes in parking fees, facility advancements, payment method tweaks, and then just some missed opportunities for earnings under the current approach. So facilities advancements. In speaking with Reality Bites, the town's technological services provider, they noted that there could actually be a Wi-Fi network installed out at the hoodoos for a relatively inexpensive cost. We are quoted between $500 and $1,500 to start up the network, depending on a variety of factors. Do you want solar power? Do you want regular power? It would also cost $150 a month for unlimited usage. So not only would a Wi-Fi network out there eliminate the poor cell reception issue, the number one issue, but it also keeps with promoting principles of tourism and creates a more desirable location for guests to the valley. So that's definitely something to think about. Now, again, while payment method complaints were minimal to the department formally throughout the summer. In fact, we had over 4,300 43,000 successful QR code payments. So a lot of people were able to use that method. There is a static payment terminal option that some people have inquired about, and that does reflect the historical norm for paid parking. And then they can offer ease of payment in some people's eyes. Hotspot does offer static terminals. They're $10,250 a piece, and each terminal comes with $780 in yearly software fees. They do come at a bit of a high cost and do create their own challenges. We did have conversations with another jurisdiction. The town of Sylvan Lake has had a paid parking program since 2019. They started with over 15 pay terminals down Lakeshore Drive. This year, they actually removed all their payment terminals and went to a straight hotspot signage approach, citing machines breaking down, too high of operating costs, and they just no longer made sense. So after 5 years of doing that, they actually changed to the approach that we're currently using. And then just in those conversations, I says, well, how else can we get people to pay? Well, what they've done is they've offered a phone-in payment method. So you can call up a representative of the town, whether that be perhaps someone at town hall or a rec facility. That would be something we could figure out, and take a credit card payment over the phone or an e-transfer and generate a day permit for that person manually on our end. Perhaps this would be a good chance to sell a lot of day permits. Something to think about. Parking during events. So as I noted earlier, the BCF was not that high earning of a lot, which is a little bit disappointing considering that's a pretty big piece of infrastructure there that needs to be maintained. At the beginning of the year, it was decided that any time that there was an event going on at the BCF or a facilities booking, that we wouldn't enforce paid parking, and those patrons would be informed that they're exempt. Essentially, due to the vast amount of bookings at the BCF, it made enforcement close to impossible. And unfortunately, there's a lot of times where that lot is full for the entire weekend. Take, for example, cycling tournaments, stuff like that, and the lot isn't earning. So there's perhaps an opportunity for some more income in the future if that was something we wanted to consider. And then the last point here is just a point about parking fees. So currently parking fees are $2 an hour in parking lots and $2.50 on Riverside Drive. Now in comparison to other jurisdictions, these are quite reasonable. Town of Sylvan Lake, Lacombe County, also hotspot users, charge $3 an hour. Municipality of Jasper comes in at $3.50. Banff, I know Drumheller's not Banff, as some people will say, but they charge $6 an hour. And I certainly wouldn't advocate for $6 an hour. That seems a little bit excessive, but it's just interesting to note how much more inexpensive we were compared to these other jurisdictions. So for example, if we were to set all parking fees at the currently higher enacted fee of $2.50 like it is on Riverside Drive, not only would the town remain the most inexpensive of all these jurisdictions, but earnings would significantly increase overall. I'm not a math guy by any means, but I'll do some quick, easy math here. So we had 43,062 successful QR code payments. Let's assume each of these payments is $2 an hour. We would have made $86,124. Now let's assume they were $2.50 an hour. We would have made $107,655. Now that just goes to show how a very small increase in fees really goes a long way over the course of a summer. $21,000 in this hypothetical example. $21,000 is your hotspot fees for the summer. So yeah, just in conclusion, we experienced several successes and also found some areas that could certainly be improved in the future. I think based on what we've learned, we could certainly develop a more profitable and smoothly running program in the future if council desires. Greg and I will be happy to tag team some questions for you.
Thanks so much, Trent. That's a great presentation. Okay, let's start. Who wants to start? Tom?
Thank you for the very good information, and huge thank you to Bylaw and Communications and everybody that worked so hard in implementing this program. This is probably one of the biggest, most difficult, challenging, program that we've ever had. That I've been on council a long time, and this has really been thought out, and a lot of background went into it. And I got to say, first of all, I hope people can appreciate that in an ideal world, the town of Drumheller would not have paid parking. That we don't necessarily want to have everybody pay for their parking that come and visit the valley. But the fact of the matter is the costs of the town doing business are going up and up and up and up. And taxes are not keeping pace. We raise taxes every year, but the costs have gone up way faster than the amount of taxes. So if the town doesn't come up with alternate methods of paying for some of the stuff that we need to pay for, this town is going to be in trouble. The last 2 years, we've had to dip into our reserve to balance the budget, and that's not sustainable, obviously. So I look at this paid parking program, and I look at all the complaints, and I look at all the concerns, and I look at all the challenges. Yes, absolutely. But when I look at $67,000 coming into the coffers of the town, that is now going to go in to help pay for places like the Hoodoos and the Swinging Bridge and, tourist infrastructure that would come out of the town taxpayers' money, I think we have to continue with it. And you've suggested some, good things that we have to tweak it here and there. But I see it as something that is absolutely necessary for the municipality to continue with. So thank you very much for your hard work.
Anybody else? Crystal?
Yes, thank you, Trent, Greg, whole entire team. This is a lot of work, but I'm glad that we've had this summer to really iron out some challenges, but also realize that it has been successful. And so thank you. And thank you to all those residents. A lot of them have registered. I know there's still a few to go. They can still go to BCF to help with registration. They can still call your team, right? So that's still all available for them. So just a couple questions. The about $20,000 that was in signage and the startup costs, will that continue every year, or it'll be pretty minimal for those costs?
We're going to be paying Hotspot $5,000 a year to manage the resident permit for us, and that's them doing work on the back end as well as the app as well, giving residents the availability to go on an app, change their plates, etc.
Okay, so about a $15,000, we won't have a cost each year for, the stuff. Maybe some new, more signage, but it won't be a lot, so that would be good.
No, Mr. Reda, I don't think, Mrs. Reda, some of the costs are gonna be repeated.
Yeah.
And we may be able to take over the registration ourselves. There was a lot of uncertainty the first year, I'm not making excuses, but just how would the time go? And would we be competent in first of all, selling the idea to the public, and then the public being able to register their vehicles? And if we, for lack of a better term, mess that up, then credibility of everybody would be kind of shot. So I appreciate what Hotspot did for us, but it may be something as we get into the program and perhaps find a way to whether we, one person or two people, however, manage it in the future, if we proceed, I think we could probably do away with that eventually and manage it ourselves. I feel confident now, frankly. It's just a matter of time and
Oh, yeah.
details
No,
and all that.
for sure. Just trying to think of how we're going to be saving come in the future, right? So there's obviously a lot of costs first year. Just a quick question: when someone uses the QR code and then also, or just uses the app, the fees are still the same, right? That Hotspot would charge us for collecting that money.
Yeah, the only difference with an in-app payment is you can end your session sooner, whereas you pay FastTap, which is the QR code system, it's $2 an hour and you can't get a refund.
Okay.
If you pay with the app and you only stay 20 minutes, you pay for 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. No, that's good information. I didn't realize that. And then about $49,000 is the revenue at Hoodoos. Was that, if I remember correctly, that was probably about what we would making when we had staff sitting out there collecting?
No, it's more, Mrs. Ray, than
Wait,
we made.
more? Okay, so-
considerably more.
So we're not having a staff out there. Yes, we have staff checking, but that staff's also checking all the other parking lots. So the costs are actually way less and more revenue. I'm just trying to point to all the good things about what has come out of it. So, um, and then, oh, no, that's it. All the other ones were asked from Tom. So thank you.
Patrick?
I think, yeah, very much reiterate some of the things. I see this as a fairly good success, especially considering, you know, much of the year was taken up through education. Um, yeah, the one thing that, yeah, looking at different payment methods, I see that, you know, cost prohibitive with putting in a stand-up one, and I don't see the phone-in as very inefficient either. I was wondering if there would even be an automated phone-in thing that could be set up. Just, you know, I do think that there is a need for an alternative method of payment, but I'm not sure if those fit the bill just yet, but there's still more research, I guess.
No, Mr. Clapper, we're not exactly sure either, sir. We're still looking at it and see. We've had the benefit also of two other municipalities across the country that have used Hotspot, and two very different individuals in charge, but provided us really good advice. And luckily, we've even surpassed what the one community did, and they mucked themselves down the first year with a lot of like a hotline complaint issue thing that kind of wasn't really put across properly. But we're looking at a variety of things. We may be able to come up with something better as an alternative pay. Right now, I don't have that answer, but it's not over.
Thank you.
Stephanie?
Yes, thank you to everybody that worked so hard on this. It's exciting to see that it's not gonna be a huge cost to possibly put better internet in out at the hoodoos to help people with that. And I know some other places, I think it's Red Deer, where you can go right to City Hall and pay. So I don't know if we could do that option here. If Town Hall was open, they could come in and pay.
Yeah, that would be linked up with the phone. You could call in or you could attend town hall in person if under that approach, yes.
Or we could use the VIC, since we help fund that. Could be a possibility, because then that is open. Anybody else? All right, let's go. Hoodoo parking lot. We had government reps here from federal and provincial government who used the tap and had no problem. So this is an interesting, since it's one of your highest, I don't know. I just never hear the problems. When I ask people, it seems to always works. I'm not sure what I'm missing.
No, honestly, I'd be out there and someone would register a successful payment, and then I'm standing with a gentleman who's appears to have service on his phone, but payments aren't going through, and it's not working. So
Okay, well, the $500 with the internet connection seems to be well worth it.
yeah, and then just one other thing to consider with that, we do have a lot of international travelers who come to that location and don't have cell service, period. So if there was a wireless internet network, that would accommodate them as well.
Excellent. I love the fact that it's good till 2027 for our locals, so we'll just keep encouraging everybody to sign up. I did to talk about that. Okay, my next one. Um, it's like any program, when you start it, it costs money. I don't care what you do, there's always upfront costs. And when I look back on all of the documents and the information, so many of those are now, I mean, we had to have staff help set up. We had to have staff involved in communication. Like, was just so much we had to do. So when Crystal asked the question about savings, I think there's a lot more than I love that you're conservative, but I think there's a lot more than, so well done. When we talk about signage, we obviously know an area in town where it's street, people live there, it's residential. As with any other street in town, nobody owns the streets. So really it's a tough area to deal with. Is there a way to guide people to the parking lot of the hill so that people understand, you know, do have residential parking there, but it's hard for you guys to be everywhere. You can't manage everything, but especially at the corner by, just across from the Rotary Park, if we could say more parking 1 minute walk ahead or, because I think they don't see that parking lot.
Yeah,
So-
we've got a great infrastructure services team who I'm sure we could partner with to point people in the right direction.
Right, I think there's just a misconnect there that we could probably do a little better of guiding people to parking, because if you do go to another community, it'll say, parking this way or parking that way. So maybe that corner, because it's such a congested area anyways. So something to think about. I told you about the VIC, I think it could work there. And then I think, to echo Tom's point about trying to offset the cost of infrastructure, our intent here from the beginning is if we could get $1 out of every visitor in Drumheller that comes to Drumheller, which we get up to $1 million, $1 would change the whole direction of the budgets. It would help every department in the town. We could advance things further. So I think I'm asking everybody who's listening, or if you have an idea that can help us, we are all ears. We're looking for opportunities. We're looking for ways. We don't have all the answers. Nobody here has all the answers, but this is one suggestion that was brought to us. And obviously, $67,000 for a startup program. Hey, I commend you all, everybody involved, because to be honest, I'm pretty conservative that way, and I had a lower number that I would have been happy with. So to have that, well done, and well done, Greg, and everybody involved, because as it was a tough project to pull out, and it was not easy. It upset a lot of the apple cart, but I think, or I don't even think, I feel and I believe that the residents of Drumheller, when they see that number grow each year, and hopefully realize we're trying to help. We really are trying to find a way not to always hit taxes, because that's the only avenue we have right now. So if nobody else has anything else, I just want to say thank you to all of you on behalf of council, on behalf of the previous council that initiated this conversation a long time ago. And we're finally here, and we can see that it's a pretty decent program. So thank you. All right. Okay, I think, we have closed session to do. So can I get a motion going into closed session, please, council? Go ahead, Crystal.
I move that council close the meeting to the public to discuss third-party business and local public body confidences as per FOIP 16, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party, FOIP 23, local public body confidences, and FOIP 24, advice from officials.
Seconder, please. Tom, all in favor? Carried. Thank you for everybody for being with us, and we will be back next week. And enjoy the weekend. A reminder, if you're going out for a walk, please take a bag with you and help us reach the vision to be the cleanest, friendliest, most sought after community. Take care.